I'm waiting for it to start. Come on. Ah, we go. Right. Hello and welcome to another See You Next Thursday. This one, Billy's back from his holidays. He's taken a short holiday between his holidays, so welcome back, Billy. And
Thank
Seamus
you.
is with us too. So, how are you two?
I'm good, thanks. All fit and ready now. Fit and ready.
And I'm also very fine. Happy to have Billy back.
It's not what you said earlier. Was that just for me and you didn't want Billy to hear that? Oh, sorry.
No, what's said before anyone else hears is different.
Yeah, yeah. Ole, you have to pretend to like him. Is that right?
Yeah.
Just like you have to pretend to like me.
Well, we go that far. Nobody even pretends that, mate.
No, you have to pretend when you start. By the time we end, the truth has to come out. Even pretending can go so far.
Speaking of which, I think we're going to have to. And you're right. You touched on it before we started. We've got to start off and let Billy have his moment in the sun, so to speak, because he's just had about 16 months in the sun. So, Billy, if you want to take it away and talk about Everton finally getting a win.
Well, it's not really finally getting a win. We've been playing well enough to win. I think we've done well against Liverpool. Done well against Wolves. Done well against West Ham. We got the points at West Ham. Frank's turned the club round. He's doing okay. I think that people should get off his case now and let him get on with his job. He's doing a fine job and all the Evertonians are happy. Iwobi is the new Messi, it looks like. He's playing out of his skin. All the supporters are very happy with the way the side are playing at the moment. Yes, we could have done with a couple more wins, but you've got to give it to Frank. One thing about Frank, he gets the club, and other managers, Benitez probably in particular, didn't get the club. And I think it's going to be a happy partnership, Frank and Everton. Things change, of course, in football, but at the moment, we're very happy with Frank and his back and his team. Thelwell as well. Really good feeling at the club. And the players are playing for the shirt, which is all Evertonians have ever asked for. And at the moment, we're happy. Things are going at the moment.
Is that so? You think Frank's going to be a success then?
Well, I do, yeah. I think we've got to give him a chance. You can't guarantee success, obviously, but I think he gets the club. I think the fans are on board with him, and which other managers haven't quite managed, or recent managers. And I think things are good at the moment. We just need a couple more wins, a couple more players in the January window, and I think we'll be okay. Everyone was chanting us for the relegation places. I think we're better than that. And, I'm looking forward to the season rather than dreading it, which I was last season.
And obviously you've got the new greatest footballer of all time in Iwobi now. Dines left.
Well, he's playing well, The man's playing well. I'm the first one to decry anyone who's not trying and who's giving the ball away, which he still does at times, obviously. But, there's been a dramatic resurgence in his form over the last 6 months. Maybe his contract's up very shortly, actually, but he's playing well.
No, you can't say that, Bill. You have to say.
Oh, can you? Right.
I've read the Everton site. You're not allowed to suggest anything other than Frank Lampard's the greatest manager ever because his name's not Rafa Benitez and he's responsible for anything good. Even if you finish 1 point above the relegation places, it's all down to Frank's brilliance in keeping you in the league. That's what it'll be. You're not allowed to criticise anything unless it's Rafa Benitez's fault.
He inherited the bad side, Frank, and he's kept us up. So that was a good start for him, really good start. But he's moved on a bit. He's got a few new players in. Our back four looks really good with Cody, Tarkovsky, Patterson, Nikolenko. Looks a decent back four. I'm not saying they're brilliant, but it's a good back four. It's a solid back four. I think with the addition of Idrissa Gueye and Onana, it's given us a bit of steel in midfield. Not the best going forward. I think we could do with another forward, and another winger. But, little acorns and all that, we're going places. We are going places.
What do you think of McNeil? Because before long ago, I've always said this when people brought him up at Burnley. I've always thought he's an awful player. He's so average. There's nothing special about him, and that's the reason why he was punted from Manchester United's youth team in the first place. But what do you think of him as as an Everton player? Has he been good?
I never seen much of him when he was at Burnley, but since he's come to Everton, it basically has been awful. You've got to give players time. Obviously, they've seen something in him to pay 20 million for him. When there was the likes of Corney and other players like that available, I know he didn't want to come to Everton. Corney.
Yeah, I was going to say, you to be fair, you can't really compare him to Corney when Corney was not interested.
I'm saying that.
Yeah.
I'm saying that he's come and he doesn't look up to much, to be honest with you. He looks very weak and he's not the greatest in a tackle. But it is only early days yet. They've obviously seen something in him to pay 20 million for him, when others around the 20 million mark were getting bandied about. And they obviously seen something. I don't see it at the moment. I think he's looked awful. But it is early days, and you've got to give people time to settle. I don't know his situation.
Well, he's about to have moved a long way because he's, still living where he was before.
Yeah.
So he's certainly not moved home or anything.
No, but he hasn't hit the ground running. That's my problem.
No, but I'm saying he can't put it down to moving home or anything like that because he's.
No, I'm not talking about moving home. I'm talking about moving club and having to deal with different players and
training.
And their training methods, and it doesn't look to be working out for him yet. But they've seen something in him, and so I want to give him the benefit of the doubt for now. But I will say, up to now, he's looked really awful.
So sorry, I was just going to ask Seamus what he thought of him before, as in as a player. While we're on the
much of a madness. Much of a madness. Hardly
pace neither, which I thought he would have.
He doesn't have trickery. He's basically a player who doesn't have pace or trickery or any outstanding qualities. He's meant to have decent delivery, and that's about it.
Yeah, but that is it.
He hasn't had a target man yet. He hasn't had a target man the likes of Calvert-Lewin will provide for him, and then we might see him whipping these crosses in because it's new. He's put
But then again, Billy, it's easy to provide crosses for Calvert-Lewin and Chris Wood. If you're able to provide crosses for the likes of...
I see that, Dave, but if that's his strong point...
But if you hang the ball high enough and near enough the likes of Calvert-Lewin, they will get their head on. How much of that is actually his ability of crossing the ball properly, and how much of that is the outcome of the attacker being good in the air?
Yeah. But I'm saying sometimes people fit and sometimes they don't. At the moment, he doesn't fit. If he gets other players in the side, the likes of Calvert-Lewin, who prefers the high ball, should we say, I think, he might provide a service for him, going down the wing and crossing, because apparently he's a very good crosser of the ball. I haven't seen much of it yet, but he hasn't had a target man, really. We're a very small side up front. But, as I say, I'm going to give him the benefits of the doubt up to now. But I must say, first impressions are that he's not the quality that I'd want at Everton Football Club. But I'll say early days.
The long and short of it, from my point of view, is you don't buy those sort of players. Those sort of players you should be able to supplement through the academy.
Yeah, I can see that.
The guys that provide cover and aren't that exceptional in any other thing. Like, if you're spending a decent chunk of your transfer budget, it has to be on improving the team. And let's face it, 20 million was a decent outlay for Everton this summer.
Yeah, it is. Absolutely, it is. Yeah, and I put him in the brackets of the likes of Andros Townsend and players like that. You know, not good enough to be in a very good side, but a squad player. That's what I see him as, a squad player. And Neil Lennon, I mean, you know what I mean? Aaron Lennon. Players like that, who I don't think are top quality, but are squad players. And that's the way I see him at the moment. But in our situation, 20 million for a player who is going to be a fringe player at best up to now, I think was a bit of a mistake. But, you know, as I say, it's early days yet. And I hope to see a big improvement.
You can't get every signing right, and when you're paying, small figures, there's obviously it's a lot more difficult to attract the better quality players because they want to go where there's more, where the teams have got more money to spend and higher up the league. So So I can understand it. There's one signing doesn't work out. There's one, not a bad return for a transfer window, is it really?
Well,
I like to look at this Onana.
That Onana looks
good. Yeah, he looks a player actually. He's strong, he's athletic, and I think he's going to be a box-to-box player that will really help the side. But I think he needs to get on the score sheet. I'd like to see him get on the score sheet. But he's given his all, and he plays with a smile on his face, and I like him. I really like Onana. And I think Idrissa Gueye is a good signing for us because he's protecting the back four, which we never had last year. The likes of Allen and all that, too wishy-washy. Get rid of that, and Gomez, players like that. Give me an Onana and Idrissa Gueye for Gomez and Allen. And I'm happy days with that, you know.
What's happening with Doucouré? Is he still there?
Doucouré looks awful, to be honest with you. He's looked awful for the best part of 18 months. I don't know whether he's lost his zest for the game, but he looks slow and cumbersome. He's had
injuries, to be fair, hasn't he?
He's had injuries. Yeah, I'm just going to elaborate on that. He has had injuries, but when he's played, when he has been fit, he hasn't looked the same Doucouré that came first time, and when he come early and he was the heart of the midfield. He was up and down, he was doing tackles, winning the ball, distributing the ball, and up there for, trying to get on the end of things. He doesn't look that same player to me. Injuries could have taken a toll. I'm not decrying the man for that, can't do nothing about injuries. But he doesn't look the same player to me. And I wouldn't be surprised if he went maybe in January. Because we have got Onana and we've got Idrissa Gueye now. And I don't think there's a place for him in the team at the moment. Things might change, but at the moment he doesn't look like a player who fits into the side as an automatic starter for me.
Well, I was going through Chris's review of the transfer window, and I thought Everton have a lot of central midfielders. Holding midfielder, defensive midfielder, box to box, however we term it. Everton seem to have too many of them.
You think Everton have got too many of them?
Yeah, too many of them. Like I think you still have Allen, you still have Tom Davies, Doucouré, you bought what? You also bought James Garner in, you've got Idrissa Gueye, you've got Onana.
Yeah, but there's different qualities, isn't it? Tom Davies for me shouldn't be near the side.
Yeah, they shouldn't be in the. They should be sold, but for now they're not sold, and they're still taking up the wage and all those things.
Yeah.
Placing the squad and everything.
Luckily, they're not on big wages. They're not on big wages, so that's not a concern at the moment. Tom Davis is on buttons, to be honest with you, and
No, but I think at least one or two of them could be sold and wouldn't make too much of a difference to the team.
yeah, I totally agree with that. We have got a glut of them, but some of them aren't that good, to be honest with you. But hopefully, things are improving. Frank's at the wheel, and
hopefully it's not as bad as Ole being at the wheel.
Absolutely not.
Contract will have Rio Ferdinand. Oh no, not Rio Ferdinand. Who's an ex-Everton imbecile? Who's a really stupid. Phil Neville. No, he's out in the States coaching, so he won't have time to be a pundit now. No, I meant like in the pundits.
Leon Osman. There's Leon Osman.
Of course, yeah. He's not that much of a. He's not enough of a moron like Rio Ferdinand, where he just says stupid things because he's trying to be reactive. This is the thing with Rio Ferdinand. He says completely stupid things because he's trying to show how great a Man United fan he is now. He's constantly feeling like he has to show how great a man because he grew up as a Liverpool fan. That's what it is. He's trying to prove a point. You know what I mean? It's constant. That's why he says these stupid things. You just think, you don't mean it. You're just trying to show how great a Man United fan you are because you feel you have to prove yourself all the time. At least that's how I see it, what he says, because I don't believe even Rio Ferdinand can be that stupid, surely. Well, maybe. Then again, thinking about it, he's a footballer. They are morons. Let's be honest.
Yeah, I'm not Rio's biggest fan, but a great player, but as a pundit, awful.
Player.
Absolutely awful. He was a great player, yeah. Great player.
Yeah. So, go on,
mate. That's all I've really got to say about Everton. I'm happy at the moment. Not ecstatic, but happy.
Are you happy with the Maupay signing?
Yeah, I'm okay with Maupay. We needed a forward, an out-and-out forward, which he is, an out-and-out forward.
Yeah, but he's also someone who's proven.
He gives you an option.
But he's proven himself to be not good enough to score for a team of Brighton, who produced tons of chances.
Yeah, I don't think he's prolific. That's his problem. But he does give his all every game, and he gets in good positions. Whether we find him is another thing. But he's better than what
even if you find him, come on, Billy. Even you can't say that. Even if you do find him, 9 times out of 10, he's not gonna find the back of the net. That has been his issue.
You must have been asleep last week, were you, when he hit that stunner against West Ham?
Oh yeah, and Ole Gunnar also finished second in the league. It's the same.
He missed the best one against Liverpool, to be honest with you.
Just one thing happened doesn't make him a good player or a bad player.
No, I'm not saying he's a world beater, but he's better than what we had. He's at least he's an option up front, which we haven't had when Calvert-Lewin's been injured. The likes of Rondon, people like that, just a waste of space. And so he's better than what we had. So he's an improvement. I'm not saying he's a world beater, but he's an improvement. And if he could play off someone like Calvert-Lewin, if he played 2 up front, that is, of course, I think he might do all right. So jury's out with him, but I like him up to now.
No, but my point was, what did the Everton scouting team, the recruitment team, see in him to actually go after him? Because he never
was a forward. We could afford Deeps, basically.
I think that's it. Simple as that.
Because he's proven himself to be ineffective in front of goal.
He works hard, though.
So would Billy, and he's 50, 60, 70, however many
80
years old.
I'm 64, actually. But, he's not the greatest forward. He wouldn't have been my first choice. But he's what we could afford at the time, and he's an improvement. So you've got to be thankful for small mercies. And he looks as though he wants to be here, which is half the battle. So, let him get on with it. If he doesn't prove a great signing, it's no big loss. We didn't pay fortunes for him, So give the man a chance. He might just turn things around. Brighton mightn't have suited him. Sometimes a club just fits, and maybe it's Everton with him. Let's hope so.
Anything else to add then, Seamus, before we move on?
Nothing else.
Right. Well, seems
I don't want to pour water on Billy's fire right now.
No,
because Everton will do that. Everton will do that next time they play anyway.
Exactly. So you don't need to really, do you? No point being cruel. He's an old man. Which reminds me, Billy, at 64, does she still love you?
Yeah, she still needs me and she still feeds me. So, being 64 is okay.
I don't know why that came to mind. I don't even like the Beatles, but that song just popped in my head when you said it, and I started. Dude, I don't know. When you just think, "Oh God, please get out my head," and I'll probably hear it tonight when I try and sleep now.
Yeah, you will do, Trish.
Yeah.
You will do.
As we're on the subject of the Premier League, I think we need to discuss a couple of things. First off, do you know anything about Roberto De Zerbi, Seamus? Because you normally know the obscure managers. The new manager of Brighton, for anybody who's not sure.
So he made his name in Sassuolo, who I think wouldn't be a bad comparison to Brighton.
Yeah,
as a club. A club from a smaller city town area with small budget, smaller fan base, overachieving mostly by being smart in the transfer window and producing one or two very excellent players from their academy system. So he should be fine with the limitations that come as a Brighton manager. He has also done a decent. He had done a decent job as Shakhtar Donetsk as well. Before that,
they had quite a lot of money to spend, though, don't they, Shakhtar?
Yeah, but he didn't spend too much time because of the world events.
Yeah, but that happened and he left immediately, which is why he was available. So.
Yeah, so he's not out of the game as such, but he's also.
Yeah,
he's also coming from a vacation, from a sabbatical, however we want to phrase it.
Yeah, he shouldn't really, it's not like he's one of those managers who's been sacked for poor performances or anything like that either. He's free agent simply because he was managing Shakhtar Donetsk, who are a Ukrainian club, and when the invasion happened, he left. That simple. It's not he wasn't sacked for being shite or anything like that. So that's that. So he's not got a bad track record at all, has he?
Yeah, and he from the work he's done with Sassuolo, it shouldn't be too different from the job he'll be expected to do at Brighton, because at Sassuolo also he succeeded a manager who had taken them to heights never seen, was almost a demigod for some of the supporters.
Yeah.
Eusebio Di Francesco did do a lot of good job for Sassuolo, so
he's got one hell of a lot of
things. Yeah, but a lot of things do sound very similar to Brighton. The work he did at Sassuolo, the expectations he had when he took over. So I'll be intrigued to see how he performs.
Yeah, he plays good football apparently as well, doesn't he? I can't remember watching his teams play, but
yeah, but Sassuolo generally do play good football. And in Italy, it's very easy to stand out when you're not actually being a negative Nancy.
Yeah, because they don't have a lot of ones that play good football, so it does tend to bring you to the fore, especially if.
Well, actually, they do nowadays.
Yeah. Well, no, I meant like until recently. I should have said, shouldn't I? Because they seem to.
In the last 5 odd years, there are a lot more
Except
expensive
Allegri.
teams in Serie
Yeah.
and a certain Mourinho, I guess.
Yeah, Mourinho. Yeah, but neither of them are particularly doing well, are they? Despite the teams that they're.
Mourinho is doing all right. Allegri is struggling.
I'm not sure. Do you know? You say he's doing all, but they've spent a lot of money. You know what I mean? He's probably he should be right up there anyway. You know what I mean? He's not doing as well as I would have expected. I should say, rather than. Because all the rest were in trouble. AC Milan and that were all having to sell players this summer. Juve stripped their squad down quite a bit due to money issues.
But Juve are far and away much better. But we shouldn't be talking about Juventus. We should be talking about Brighton.
Yeah, sorry, yeah, but like, yeah, De Zerbi, yeah, I'm quite interested. I'm very interested. I mean, see how he gets on. So, certainly an interesting.
Maybe he can solve. Maybe he can find a striker, a goal scorer from Italy to bring to Brighton.
If they can find a goal scorer, that would make a huge difference for them.
Yeah, that seems to be a problem with quite a few Premiership teams, finding a goal scorer. You think the likes of Everton, you look at West Ham, who haven't got a proper goal scorer.
Oh, they have Brighton, Schumacher, but Moyes won't play him.
Yeah, didn't they? Yeah. He did sign a highly rated striker from Italy, being monitored, being chased by the likes of PSG and Inter and whoever not. Yeah. But he doesn't play him. Yeah. But it's still early days. Maybe he's just settling in.
No, that's the way Moyes is. He's very poor for that, isn't he? He takes ages before he puts players in. Even when the team's going through, he just has his core group that he sticks with through thick and thin and plays.
Yeah, he does. That was his problem at Everton.
Yeah, he's too loyal to players that he should be looking to get rid of. It's always been his issue.
But, to add to Billy's list, Leeds also don't have not goal scorer.
Loads. When I was doing that transfer window review, I noticed it.
Yeah. Southampton also don't have a goal scorer.
A top striker can make a side, can't they? That's been Brighton's biggest problem. I know we're still on Brighton, aren't we? Neil Maupay didn't really do it. He scored a few goals, but they never had an out-and-out striker that would have. Then they made chances, and that was their biggest failing. Why they never even went further than they could have under Potter, because they never had a striker. And I think there's quite a few teams in the Premiership who were in that. We've just named quite a few who are in that bracket where, if they had a good striker, they'd be doing a lot better than what they are. And I think the teams we named points out to that about having a good striker, Mo Salah are there, Harry Kane, you look at teams like that and they're doing well because they've got good strikers. Saka for Arsenal, really good striker. And all the good teams seem to have a decent striker, someone who's going to score your goals.
You mean like Roberto Firmino?
Like who?
I said Roberto Firmino.
He's a non-scoring striker. You should know that.
No, he means Rondon.
Oh, and Rondon as well. Yeah, there's quality ones out there, isn't there? Non-scoring strikers.
There is quite a few, actually.
Neil Maupay.
Good luck to Brighton now.
Yeah,
I like Brighton as a side, I do. And, they lost two of the best players, by the way, in Cucurella. And
You're not going to say Maupay, You're not going to say
Maupay,
are you?
No, Bissouma. No, I'm going to say Bissouma instead. And they lost them two, and everyone thought, the midfield's going to be.
No,
you brought new players, and they've done okay.
No, they'd already replaced Bissouma with that Mwepu last season. They bought.
They were planning to replace him with. Moipo anyways.
Yeah, and then they brought in Caicedo this summer, didn't they? Was it
Yeah,
this summer
yeah.
or last?
Brought him back. Brought
Brought
him
him
back
back,
from
yeah.
loan.
Brought him back, yeah.
So
But
yeah,
they look
they
a
were
decent
well prepared.
unit.
Oh, they're very good side. But
Yeah,
is,
they're
how
good
much of
unit.
that is down to Potter and how much of that is down to the quality of the players is something we're only going to find out this season.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you've also got to factor in the fact that they also lost Dan Ashworth, their
That's the
sporting
one.
director.
That's the one that's going to be interesting to see how they get on, particularly because he was the one identifying the talent. Can they still bring in the good players without him?
Yeah, it's a point, Trish, yeah.
Yeah, that's the one that's probably the most difficult to replace because they're few and far between good ones.
Yeah.
Right, should we stay on? Well, I think we should stay on the south coast even quickly. Bournemouth being sold to Las Vegas. Do you know anything about it, either of you two, or should we just jump straight past it because neither of you have a clue?
No, I don't have a clue about the new owners of Bournemouth, I'm afraid. I think they need someone to get a grip of the club. I know they had the win last week, but they don't look like a side who's going anywhere at the moment. So maybe a change of ownership might do them a bit of good.
Yeah, Denham had decided to sell a while back, and then he's Russian, so I don't know how much that helped him push him out the door quicker. Because he'd been trying to sell for a while, so they'd had basically the purse strings had been tightened, and hence why Parker had that rant in the media.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was always going to end in tears there with Parker, but he was going to be sacked. He would have been sacked anyway. Let's be honest, the new ownership are not going to want to keep the previous manager. They never do. The only time I can think of when a new owner's come in and kept hold of the manager was Chelsea with Tuchel, and that's because the entire staff quit when they moved. When they bought it, so they were kind of stuck with having to keep somebody there just to have some continuity, and even he didn't last long.
Well, the only guy I can think of that actually did last long enough is Arsene Wenger and Sir Alex Ferguson.
Yeah, but to be fair, Ferguson, it was him that had set up the takeover, so.
Yeah, he got a shoe Bob.
No, he set it up. He was the one that because he was. If I remember the 2-horse racing, only he fell out with his mates. Remember over the Rock of Gibraltar.
Yeah.
Greedy over the
JP McManus.
Yeah, JP McManus and that, and he fell out with them, and he went looking for someone to basically take the club and allow him to run it without their interference, buy their shares off them. And that was how he spoke to the Glaze. Is it Joel Glaze? One of the Glazers' sons. Anyway, not Malcolm.
Avram,
one
I
of his
think.
sons. I can't remember now. Yeah, he spoke to one of him who was looking to buy a football club, and the next thing you know, he's Edward Woodward setting up a deal to buy Man United and becoming their next. I was going to say, he's not long later he's appointed as their director as well. Jobs for the boys there.
Yeah.
They kept Fergie because he set up the deal. Basically, it was all down to him. So any Man United fans who wants to remember how great Alex Ferguson is, they should also remember that he's part of the reason why they're in such a mess now. A big part of the reason. Great as he was when he was there, he's caused so many problems since. Which brings me on to Man United. And
go on, Trish.
I think we need to discuss Harry Maguire's comments, don't you, Seamus?
Yeah, well, Harry Maguire
Your
during
hero.
this international.
Sorry.
Yeah, the Lord and Savior of English football.
Oh,
The greatest defender ever.
No, Billy Moore. He's more like Billy fucking Moore than Bobby Moore. I think he's escaped from Billy Smart's circus. That's what he has.
No, it's more like he doesn't play in the Premier League anymore.
Yeah, he's just an England regular.
Yeah, England regular who has not won a single Premier League game in God knows how many months.
Do you know
The only common denominator in Man United losses this season.
Is him,
God
yeah.
knows why he got picked. God knows why he got picked in this squad to begin with. Has come out during the international break through his
Doesn't that tell you a
plan.
lot about Gareth Southgate? It does to me. He's absolutely clueless, isn't he? You know, and everyone's touting him for it. You know, he was getting an MBA. I don't really got his MBA or whatever for services to football. I think it's been an absolute disgrace, actually.
And I wonder who gave that MBE or whatever it was.
I think you know, if you were going to say nominations for services to football, I'd have put you two ahead of Southgate, and neither of you two were.
And rightfully so. And rightfully so.
But both of you have done more good for football than he's done.
Oh no,
I
think he's an awful manager.
He did say he wouldn't pick players that aren't playing for their clubs or out of form, which, you know, obviously does beg the question: how is Harry Maguire in the squad then?
Absolutely.
But
you know, you can't play players who are not playing in the squad, can you? Really, they're not match fit for the start, and he's just not good enough. Everyone knows he's not good enough to play in one of the top sides. That's why he can't get a game at Man United, who are just an average side. And they, you know, how can he be picked for the national side as an automatic choice? He's bloody awful as a player. And I think everyone's decided that. Everyone knows now how bad a player he is. And yet he gets picked for the England national side. That's just a disgrace, isn't it?
To be fair, it might be a similar situation as us three on the pod. It's not because any of us are any fucking good. It's just because we haven't got a choice. The only ones that'll do it. It's a case of, you'll do that.
That's a fair point, Swiss. Yeah, fair point.
I mean, when you consider Eric Dyer's still in the side.
Yeah. He's had a resurgence, Eric Dyer. Dyer spelled D-I-R-E. And, yeah.
That's how we play anyway. Anyway, we've got a bit sidetracked. Seamus, I think you actually need to tell us what the comments were about. Sorry, mate. I don't think you got to say that, did you?
Well, the comment is made via his camp to ESPN. That is how the media has reported it. I don't know how much of that is true, how much of that is made up and anything. But basically, it's like he has come out and said he doesn't feel helped by the coaches and players around him. And he's especially said to have targeted David De Gea for not being good with communications and not being rash and running out of his goal line to defend. The gap that he fucking leaves. It's not like the gap is there anyways. The gap is there because you cannot fucking position yourself. You cannot fucking read the game.
Surely you're not blaming Harry Maguire.
It tries to that. Oh my god, the cheek on that guy to call out others for not having communication skills.
Yeah. He tackles.
He's the same guy who pulls. Yeah, he's the same guy who pulls his players down, gifting opposition team goals. That idiot is saying that the keeper is the reason he cannot communicate. You idiot!
Yeah.
So
how delusional do you have to be?
Can I just ask you this?
How delusional does he have to be to even consider these things, let alone say it out loud?
Is he the worst signing in Manchester United's history, Deeps?
He might even end up as one of the worst signings in football history. And he has Jack Grealish to compete with.
Yeah. I wouldn't disagree with that, Deeps.
Can I just ask these, because I'm Seamus, sorry, I'm not quite sure. I've listened to you talking, and I'm not sure. Do you rate Maguire then? Because I'm not, it's not clear. Do you agree with what
Don't be
he's saying
sitting on
or
the fence.
not? I'm confused here. Are you saying that Maguire's right with what he's saying and De Gea is at fault for all the goals that Man United have conceded when Maguire's playing, even though those goals stop being conceded when Maguire's not playing, but De Gea is still in the side? I'm confused though. Which is it? Do you agree with Maguire or not?
No, I don't have to agree. I will just give you the stats off the top of my head. If I have missed a game, then I'm sorry, but I think the record is something like this. Maguire plays 0% win, 100% loss. Maguire doesn't play 100% win, 0% loss. The numbers don't lie and they speak disaster for him.
Absolutely.
How clear can the match be? Unless I'm missing a game somewhere. It's like he plays, we lose. He doesn't play, we win. It's not going to draw here and there or anything.
Yeah.
And it's all because of David.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, clearly it's
Bloody
David
hell.
De Gea.
Bloody hell.
Obviously. Yeah, it's quite
Is
clear.
he still club captain, Deeps? Is he still club captain, Harry Maguire?
Yeah, he is the club captain, but he doesn't play, so it doesn't matter.
Oh, well
No, I'm not
deserved.
saying it does matter.
Well deserved.
Oh,
He's a
but
great leader. Great leader. It's been clear
Yeah,
from
that
the
is
start.
yeah. And he just proved it right here how great of a captain he is.
Yeah, by slagging the other players off.
But the
Yeah.
thing is, I remember when you first started, you were looking at him and that, and they were actually, I remember the Man United fans were discussing about him being made, coming in and he could take the captaincy and he's going to be a great. And then again, when he was made captain, and they were all talking about, oh, what a great choice it was and all that. I don't know, I remember just thinking it was the most hilarious thing. And I did say then, I don't know what he's done, what you see in leadership in him. Why do you say that? And none of them could actually explain why they thought he might be a good captain. And I think it's become clear that, like, the reason why none of them could think of a reason why he'd be a good captain is because there actually isn't any reasons for it. No. And it was the most bizarre decision of, I think, in football history to name him captain. It makes no sense whatsoever.
I thought the only reason they bought him anyway was that Liverpool bought one of the best in Van Dijk. And then Liverpool paid 70 million. Did they pay 67 million something for Van Dijk?
Wasn't it?
That is how it happened, Billy.
And then Man United, to usurp them, went for no, we're going to get the best centre half available, and they went for Maguire. And everyone who knew anything about football was saying, why would you go for Maguire and pay more than what Liverpool paid for Van Dijk for Harry Maguire? And it just didn't make sense to people.
To be fair, a lot of the pundits seemed to be in love with him and said he was a great player. I think it was only, I think it was me and Seamus were about the only ones that, like, if you can call us pundits, I don't even know if we'd be classed as, but about the only ones that we were quite ridiculed for saying he wasn't very good. If I remember rightly, you were the same as me when you said he wasn't very good. Seamus, before he signed.
You never signed players on the back of an international tournament to begin with.
Yeah.
And by the way, Billy, the story goes a little bit even further back. Not only did Van Dijk sign for Liverpool, the thing is, Man United chose to sign Lindelof ahead of Van Dijk.
Yeah, that's true. But to be fair,
and that was confirmed by Van Dijk, I think.
Yeah, but to be fair, Van Dijk had said to people he wanted to join Liverpool. So, to be fair, they probably thought at no point, But why Lindelof? That's the question: is why choose Lindelof? I don't get that one.
Yeah, but just this past summer, United spent the whole window chasing after a player that didn't want to come. Van Dijk wasn't against coming to United. He was more like pro joining Liverpool. There's a difference.
Yeah.
Not only did they not sign Van Dijk, they actually kind of sort of moved on from him.
Yeah, they were just badly run, and it's still suffering for it. Something that will carry on for years, I think. before you finally properly sort it out.
But you won't get rid of him.
But I
Who's going to take him on? Who's going to take him on the wages he's on, or even maybe a bit less, and pay good money for Harry Maguire? I can't see a side who I can think I'd say we'll take him. A decent side of me who say we'll take Harry Maguire.
If only Everton had money.
Thank God we don't. Yeah, I think he's a bad player.
Leicester, I don't think there are many options. Maybe Newcastle, but they seem to be making sensible signings. Leicester don't seem to be spending much. And that's about it.
Yeah.
Maybe if he takes a step back and goes to somewhere like a Southampton, Brighton, Crystal Palace, that kind of a team.
Well, if Harry lifts the World Cup in Qatar, everyone will be after him because he's the rock of the side. So he's undroppable. So maybe he'll come good.
Yeah, but don't give me the reason to support England in the World Cup. Come on, Billy.
Yeah, at least they can sell him if he plays well.
Yeah, we do know that he is gonna play for England, so that's sorted.
Unless Southgate gets sacked, but that's unlikely because they'll probably give him a new contract.
Yeah.
So, I think we need to move on anyway because there's not a lot more we can say other than Maguire's shit a few more times, is there really?
No.
So I think we should move on. I think the next one I want to now. Neither of you two know what these are, but like Messi's demands from 2020 being leaked out to the media in Spain from his contract,
right.
One of the contract extension. I think it's because the new guy, what's his name? I forget. Laporte is basically slagging off the guy who was in charge at the time. Trying to make out he just let Messi go because he's a dickhead, basically. So I think Laporte has let it go to basically say, hang on a sec, have you seen what this little shit was asking for before you say we were being an arsehole? You know what I mean? That I was just being a div. And I think he's got a point when you see the demand. Right, so anyway, so it's 2020, pandemic's in full swing at the time, remember? So nobody's going to games or anything like that. And they're in contract talks with him. So he comes in, first thing, he's 33 years old. He said, I want 3-year contract extension. I want 3 more years on my contract. What do you think of that one for starters? That's just a nice one to get you in with. Nice, simple one.
Yeah, that would depend on how much he wanted, to be honest with you.
That's not ridiculous. That is not ridiculous.
Yeah, I can see that 3 years. Yeah, I know, playing till 36. But he was a club legend.
Yeah.
And if he was going to take a bit of a cut in his money and then maybe go upstairs after the 3 years, I think it might have been a deal on the table.
Okay.
But
yeah, so basically...
Okay, so I'm looking at I'm playing devil's advocate here. Come on.
No, we all think that's not too bad. We're all, we'd all think, yeah, we can understand that one. Probably wouldn't have been a problem. Right, so the next one, again, I think this is another one that's not too bad. He wanted a private box at Camp Nou for his family and Luis Suarez's family to use during matches, home games. Again, don't see
why only them two? But why only them two? It should be for players, whoever he chooses or however.
No, it's just for their families because they're close friends, the families, and that was it. It was just them two.
Right.
I mean, I'm sure he could have invited others as well, but like he didn't exactly have a lot of friends to invite, did he?
No.
So, right. I'm trying to think which one to do next. I think the next one is he wanted a private plane to use over Christmas, so we could fly here, there, and everywhere, wherever he wanted, during the Christmas break.
That's okay, because he's a club legend.
As long as someone else is paying for it, that's okay. I'll give him that.
Remember, he's on £1 million a week, €1 million a week. I mean, and he's.
But also he's the top scorer in the club.
And the club's
history,
in the
yada yada yada.
Yeah, but billion euros in debt at the time, and the pandemic's in full flow, so there's nobody going to the games, so there's going to be a huge cut in revenue. And he's asking for a private plane to fly him around the coast. Personally, I think that just shows how out of touch with modern, with real life footballers are, that he made that kind of demand. Personally,
Yeah, I'd agree with you there. It's a mad demand. As you say, pandemic, everyone's tightening their belts, and he wants a private plane, a private box, and £1 million, €1 million a week.
Yeah.
Just absolutely ridiculous, and shows the caliber of the man. For me, not a big fan.
What about you, Seamus? Yay, no?
Is that it?
Would you? No, that's just on that one. I'm just asking. Would you have? You're happy with him? You'd have given him the private plane, would you?
No, I'm not saying I would have given him. I'm saying that's palatable enough.
Okay.
Just about.
Okay.
Understandable. That is understandable that he made that demand.
Okay.
I don't agree with the demands, but I can at least understand it.
Okay. Well, we'll move on to the next one. Now we know you know how the release clause system works in Spain. Do you both? I assume.
No,
Yeah,
go on.
once the team matches it.
Yeah, they have to. Yeah, they have to allow him to talk to the player, and the player, if the player chooses and they pay that fee, the player's gone. It's just basically you don't have any choice. If another team matches the release clause, you've got to let them go if they want him. So
Right.
his release clause at the time was 700 million euros. He wanted it to now be 10,000 euros. He wanted it to just be a token amount, because you have to have a release clause in the contract, and he wanted it set as low as possible, and he asked for 10,000 euros when he's asking for a 3-year contract extension.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, that is just taking the mickey out of it.
You just you can't do that, can you? Because someone could come in and say, here, 10k, almost signed Messi.
Anybody would do that.
Yeah, exactly. Someone would be in immediately, wouldn't they? Let's be honest. Because it's not even private information. It's the kind of thing that when a release clause is done, it's put in it's put out in the, isn't it? It's put out in the public. Yeah. It has to be in the public domain. So it's like, it's like him saying basically, if anybody wants me, I'm available, isn't it? Really?
Yeah. He's just trying to whore himself out.
Yeah, which when you put on top of the next demand I'm going to go to, he wanted 10 million euros to renew the contract. And remember, this is a club in struggling to pay the wages of all the players they've got already and stuff, which is why they were having to take, all the players had taken wage deferments, remember? And obviously there's no people in the grounds, etc. So, is Billy gone? I'm there. Did the boss come in and tell you to go, Bill? Well, both of you gone?
No, sorry, I just had to plug in there. My battery was running low. Go on, sir. Sorry, mate.
Did you hear the last one then, or not?
No, I don't think I did. What was the last one?
He asked for a 10 million euros renewal payment. The signing fee to sign a new contract. This is the time in the middle of the pandemic, when the clubs already said they can't afford the wages, and they'd asked all the players to take pay cuts and wage cuts and salary deferments, and they were letting staff go left, right, and centre. He's asked for 10 million euros to re-sign.
But he only wants 10,000. Yeah, but he only wants 10,000 to be his release clause.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying.
So, he wants to buy himself out. What? 1,000 times?
Yeah, exactly. So he'd leave himself with. He could then buy himself out of his contract and leave himself with plenty of money left over just for renewing the contract. I mean, it's just deluded to actually suggest these things, isn't it?
That's what gives footballers a bad name, isn't it? People like him. Honest to God, I'm not a fan of the man anyway, but he's that's just taking the piss, isn't it? Really, all these demands. How someone could actually think like that. I know you're not finished, but it's going to get worse, isn't it? It's going to get worse.
Well, the next, well, you know, obviously we all think this is that's a ludicrous one. The next one is he wanted his pay rises to have, if the Spanish government put the tax rate up, he wanted immediate pay rise to cover any shortfall, so his net salary remained the same, no matter what the tax rate was. Obviously, if the tax rate got cut, his salary wouldn't drop. Just if the tax rate went up, he'd still get the same money.
Yeah. Wouldn't we all?
Yeah, I mean, it's nice if you can get it, isn't it?
Isn't it just, yeah. Honestly, God, so out of touch, it's unbelievable, isn't it?
Seriously speaking, though, that was one that they agreed to. The release clause and was the one that was just a big sticker for them. They wouldn't have that at all, but they actually agreed to the tax-linked pay rise.
That's ridiculous, isn't it? No wonder they're in so much debt if they're offering things like that to players.
Yeah, I mean, because you don't know what the tax rate will be next year. They could have, with the pandemic causing so many problems, the Spanish government could have said, "Shit, we there's a real problem. We really need to, so we'll hike up on the high earners. We'll whack up the taxes on them." They could have, could have whacked it up 10, 15, 20% easily.
It's absolutely ridiculous, honest to God. He's making me sick now.
Would you have agreed that one, Seamus?
Nope.
No, so just Barcelona that would. It makes you wonder how they get in such debt when they agree things like that.
Yeah, it's incredible, isn't it?
Yeah, it's hard to believe. I mean, they're clearly so well run. Right, next one is, while we're on the subject of he wanted all his pandemic wages that that had been, the wage cuts and that he'd taken, to be repaid, and any deferments to be repaid immediately. Oh, and with 3% interest on it all.
You're making this up now.
No, this is true. Honestly,
you're winding me up now,
Tris. This is true. This, honestly, God's honest truth. This is what was leaked out as his demands from the club, from Barcelona itself. You know what I mean? This isn't come from Barcelona itself. He'd asked for repayment of all the wages he'd had deferred and wage cuts he'd agreed to take, and 3% interest on it all.
Well, he's such a nice guy asking for only 3% interest.
I know.
No, it should have been 10% going with his LM10 brand. Number 10 wants 10% interest.
But he's obviously too nice for that, though.
Yeah, too nice.
He's just a nice guy. I mean, he doesn't care about money. Clearly, he's altruistic.
Bloody hell.
The face of Saudi tourism. That is, you can't, just says it all, doesn't it? He's a Saudi tourism ambassador. Right, so we haven't finished yet. This is the other thing, right? There's still 2 more clauses he'd asked for. The next one was, his personal assistant was provided by Barcelona, a man called Pepe Costa. They were discussing whether to keep him on or get rid of him, because obviously the pandemic, they were in trouble for money and all that, and they were cutting jobs left, right and centre. He demanded that his assistant stayed employed by Barcelona and still be his personal assistant. Not, I'll take him on as my personal assistant and employ him myself, because I only earn $1 million $1 million a week. How could I afford his wages? So the club was ordered to carry on paying for him.
There's something from a Disney movie in it. It really is. I can't believe that he's actually that Barcelona admitted to, getting them demands. Honest to God, it's
they agreed to do that one. I mean, it's his personal assistant. If you can't fucking pay your own personal assistant, you obviously don't need one, do you?
Bloody man, honest to God, incredible, absolutely incredible.
Actually,
this is with the last one, Tris. You'll have to this is with the last one now.
Okay, the last one, and this is another one they agreed to go with. They were happy to do this one. He wanted a large commission payment for his brother, Rodrigo Messi, and Barcelona agreed it for one reason and one reason only, because he was also at the time representing Ansu Fati, who was in contract talks at the time. So they were like, oh, we'll have to pay that, won't we? Because otherwise Ansu Fati will go somewhere else, and we've lost the best young forward in the world at the time. Because that was obviously...
Yeah.
So they paid, they were agreeing to pay a huge sum apparently. They didn't actually release the amount because obviously there's some reason why I don't know why that wasn't, how much the amount was, why they didn't say. But yeah, maybe
Didn't someone at the club just say, listen, you can piss off with all your demands. We're selling you.
The ones they refused were the 10k release clause and the repayment of the pandemic wages. That was it.
He's got a cheek even asking, hasn't he, really? People have gone through hell during the pandemic and he's asking for things like that. And, it just proves what sort of person he is. An absolute scumbag he is. It really is.
I mean, you don't choose to. When you're a multi-millionaire many times over, do you go and work as Saudi Arabia's tourist ambassador?
No, I think you're wrong, Chris. It's not multi-million many times over. He's a millionaire every week.
Yeah, well, to be fair,
he must be close to a billionaire, mustn't he?
But yeah, he's not quite a billionaire yet, is he? So.
No, but he's a millionaire every week. That is the fact. It's not just the wages that he gets, it's the bonuses, it's the sponsorship deals and everything.
He probably has the shirt sales, something up the shirt sales and things like that. There's probably more goes on than what is actually put out in public eye.
Yeah, he's certainly not short of a bob or two. He could certainly afford to say to Saudi, no, I don't want to be associated with you, thanks, if he chose to. But obviously...
Yeah.
Obviously, he didn't see a problem with their human rights record or anything. He's quite happy. A bit like Newcastle fans, really. They don't seem to have a problem with it either.
No.
So,
just wrong.
Would you have agreed to the demand? Let's put this to the vote. Who would have agreed to the demands? Anyone? Okay.
No,
not me.
No. So I think we can understand why he didn't get a new contract at Barcelona then and ended up at PSG. Makes you wonder what they're paying him.
Yeah.
What they gave him. Like, how many of those did they agree to? Do you think?
Probably most of them.
Do you think that? Could you imagine? I'd love to know what the contract contains. See, for me, I think it should be like American sports, where the contracts are open. They're not.
Yeah.
They're not locked away, hidden. And I know people will say, yeah, but you don't have your salary at work is not open to everyone to see. Yeah, but it's a totally different thing. We're not being paid millions.
And we don't get watched by millions every week either.
Exactly. It's the same like a director of a company. For me, all the top, at the top. I mean, the director of football clubs. I mean, at the top end, all their salaries should be open to all to see. Because
transparency.
Yeah, it should be transparent. Everyone should be able to see. People, I mean, in America, people don't have a go at LeBron James for earning huge sums of money because he carries a team on his back. You know what I mean? When Michael Jordan was in mega bucks, nobody cared. Nobody has a problem with that. The salaries, they just like to see. That once they know how much it is, nobody actually has a major problem so much unless they're getting something that's ridiculous. So when you could see something like that, I mean, if Messi was going into his contract negotiation and he knew you, me, and everybody in the world was going to see what he was asking for, he's not going to be so stupid and ridiculous and asking for all these ridiculous things because he knows that'll ruin his image.
His reputation, it would do it.
Exactly. So it makes it a better. It's better for for football if these things were open and out there and above board.
Yeah, absolutely, it should. Yeah.
I don't know.
I just dislike him even more now than what I did before, which is really hard to imagine.
I just find it shocking that anybody is so deluded and so stupid that at that time, that at that moment in time, they would look at it and go, well, I'm not earning quite enough. I want this tax-linked pay right. Whether, they should be looking around the world saying, yeah, this is the time to wind it in a bit, isn't it?
Yeah, but people are losing their jobs at the time, in football as well as nurses and doctors and people like that who are taking pay cuts or having wages deferred. He wants that. That's just so out of touch with reality, isn't it? That it's criminal. It's criminally out of touch.
To be fair to him, he did want to save a job. Okay,
yeah, his
personal assistant, but he did want to save that job. So that is a pleasure for him. Saving that one job.
Yeah.
It is shocking. It really did. When I read it, I was looking at it thinking, this can't be right. So you do a bit of scratching around and you have a look and you think, okay, no, this is genuine. Like, it seems to be anyway, and you're thinking, oh, God. How does he have such a clean reputation? I just don't get it.
No. Very talented individual, exceptionally talented, but what a scumbag of a person. That's all I can say.
Well, I mean, the thing is, it just seems that no matter what he does, he seems to get this whiter than white image. He dives, and everybody just ignores it. Nobody says anything on it. And we get told later on after he doesn't dive. You'll have the commentator saying, oh, he doesn't go down unless he's there. There was nobody anywhere fucking near him most of the time. He dives. He's just as much of a cheat as every other player. But for some reason, when he throws himself to the floor or throws a tantrum, we always hear it. And I don't understand why he's got this great reputation and why commentators... It's the same. There's certain players that just seem to be beloved by the media and can do no wrong. And I don't understand why.
No, he's certainly one of them, isn't he?
Yeah. He's just a hero for some reason, and it wouldn't matter what he did. If he was shagging your granny in front of your granddad, the media would still say, yeah, but you know what I mean. If he was sleeping with his sister-in-law, it'd be like, yeah, but it's Lionel Messi. It's just like there is just nothing he could do that I don't think anybody. If he went and joined the Russian invasion, I think it'd say all the media would just say, well, those Russians, they've been hard done by there, haven't they? That's what you'd get. If he'd have killed the Queen,
I don't like the man one little bit.
Made for him. Just seems it doesn't matter what he does. He's fine. It's never, it's a bit like Harry Maguire. It's not his fault.
It's just not a nice person, is he? I don't think. I don't like that. He could give more, to people. I'm not saying he's not charitable at all, because he probably is, but them demands just make him look like an absolute scumbag, don't they? And I think that's exactly what he is. I've never liked the man for a good number of years now. The way he treated kids in the academy and things like that, and wanted preferential treatment. And no, not for me. He's not for me at all.
What about you, Seamus? I know obviously you prefer Cristiano Ronaldo.
Why? Why do you think that?
Because you told us in the past that he was your hero, so...
No, that's not how it actually happened, but yeah, I'm a Man United supporter, naturally I prefer Ronaldo.
Exactly, but you have told us before that was how that is who you liked, so...
Yeah, because Cristiano was the best player in Man United when I actually started supporting Man United, so that would be natural.
Yeah, and that's understandable. But were you ever at any point a fan of Messi, or did you?
Never.
No.
Never.
It's hard to like. I think once you know anything about his real the real man behind the scenes, I find it hard to like. I mean, the fact that he's allowed to play football, I find distasteful when you think he's. I mean, basically, they've doped to get him in the game in the first place, haven't they?
Yeah.
I mean, that's.
Yeah, it is. It's not nice. It's just not a nice person, is he? You know, and not just because of his demands. There's other things about him that I don't like, and I just don't like greed in any form, to be honest with you. And that's just greed, isn't it? It is greed. It's avarice, and you know, it's just not nice, especially when people are struggling to pay a bill or to have to eat none or things like that. And you hear stories like that. It's just sickening. It really is.
But I doubt anybody will care though. That's the thing. It won't be caught. You know, it won't be pumped out by the media like it would be if it was, say, Cristiano Ronaldo or
Raheem Sterling.
Oh God, could you imagine if that had been Raheem Sterling who made them demands? Christ, we'd never really end up. In fact, anyone black.
He would probably never be allowed to play football.
Yeah, anyone black, basically, anyone that wasn't white, you'd never hear the end of it. Yeah. Definitely, because especially in the British media, God, they'd love that, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, I mean, we'll move on then, I suppose. There's not a lot more we can say apart from he's a greedy bastard. How many different ways can you say he's greedy? So, the only other real news piece, I think, is Ecuador going to the World Cup, which is, let's see, FIFA have just rejected Peru and Chile's appeal because they'd appealed against their qualification because in qualifying they'd played a player called Byron Castillo who has an Ecuadorian passport, but it claims that he's ineligible. He's actually, according to the claims, he was born in Colombia. A year earlier than his documentation says, and you know he used the claim is he used a fraudulent documents to say that he was born in Ecuador and a year later than his real age, and that's how come he's qualified to play for Ecuador. In fact, Ecuador themselves, this is why there's a problem, is because Ecuador themselves, before they decided to select him, they put it off for years because of there was fears over, they didn't believe he was eligible, and it took them a few years before they accepted it. But at one point he was interviewed by the Ecuadorian FA, and in the interview, and this is why Peru and Chile are both appealing against it, he admitted using false documents to get an Ecuador passport. And admitted he wasn't born in Ecuador in the interview with the Ecuadorian FA. And this is what the basis of the Peru and Chile appeal is about. And so now they're taking it to CAS because they want Ecuador thrown out of the World Cup. Obvious reasons. He's played in most of their qualifying games to get them to the World Cup. So... Yeah, I mean... FIFA have said...
It means a lot to them to get there, doesn't it?
But FIFA have turned around and said all FIFA have based their decision on. They haven't even listened to the interview. They haven't taken any notice of anything else. All they've said is, his documentation looks fine to us. Because his birth certificate was based on... But they've only looked at the actual birth certificate, which is a real birth certificate. But it's the false, the passport.
Declaration,
based on a false birth certificate. But they've not looked at the birth certificate or anything. They've just looked and said, he's got an Ecuador passport, so he's eligible. So they haven't actually investigated or anything. They've just said, it's all right. You can just go and play in a World Cup. It's only the biggest tournament in the world, and it's only every 4 years. It's not like it matters to Peru or Chile who are missing out because of this. Well, so what if they've cheated? And they knew about it. What's the matter? It's obviously
corruption in football. Who would have thought it?
It is bizarre, though. You would have thought.
Could have been a big investigation,
Well, you would have thought they'd look into it at least when there's an interview where he clearly admits to having used stuff. I mean, it could turn out the interview that they're based is completely falsified. In which case, they should be clearing his name. To leave it like this, where the guy, where everyone's looking at going, "You cheating bastards," because like this,
Yeah.
it's just not fair on anybody. Nobody.
But is anyone surprised? Let me ask you that. Is anyone surprised when you've had the likes of Platini, Sepp Blatter, people like that in charge who are known absolute liars and criminals? Are we surprised that, this sort of thing goes on? Yeah, you've got to feel the other two sides. That's the making of their league, their country's football. If they get to a World Cup, you're bound to have a moan about that, aren't you?
It's not just them, to be fair. What about the guy who's missed out on his place in the team? Because,
yeah.
The other guy who could have been playing. Because obviously this Castillo's taken somebody's place in the team. He could have been playing those games. He might have been. They might have still won the game. Won the matches they did and got the results they did to go to the World Cup. And he might have gone to the World Cup instead. That they've got this possible cheat, going in his place. I mean, how must he feel? How must these players feel that could have been there instead?
Yeah.
It's not just Chile and Peru. There's a couple of Ecuadorian players who should be pissed off because they're missing out on their chance, their moment.
It's just another thing at football and corruption, isn't it? We've seen it being mentioned in VAR. Things have been made about cheating in all sports, not just football. Cheating, and it's another form of cheating. And that's got to be scrutinised more than what it is actually done at the moment. All aspects of football has got to it's got to come clean and be seen to doing the right thing, and that's not the right thing for me.
Well, it's football though, isn't it? I mean, it's still led by Blatter's protege, isn't it? So it's not going to change.
Yeah.
I mean, let's face it, what are they doing about the European Super League? They're football's for the fans, they said. So what are they doing? They're just doing their own version of it.
Yeah. And that still hasn't gone away. That's still going to rear its ugly head, I think, the Super League. I think that's going to come back.
Isn't it Barcelona, Juventus and Real Madrid are still standing by it?
Yeah. Exactly. That's the biggest crux in football. But, that's going to come up again this in a year's time, probably. And, who's to say that it won't happen? I think it'd be the death of football for me, but who's to say it won't happen? It's all about money.
There'll be somebody, anyway, who'll do it. It'll be, whether it's UEFA or them or FIFA who'll do it, it'll be someone.
Yeah. All a very sad state of affairs, isn't it? The beautiful game isn't that beautiful at times, is it?
Yeah, it's just hard to believe it goes. I mean, I just don't understand what the difficulty is in having an investigation and actually looking at the story. Looking at the story when you're doing something like this. It's far too important for them as well. I mean, it takes away from the World Cup if you don't. For me.
Yeah, it's what you were talking about before. About transparency, in all sports, in all walks of life, basically. Transparency has got to be one of the main things, to stop all this. But with people who are in charge of FIFA, there's always corruption involved, and it's not going to change in our lifetime. Certainly not in mine.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't want to say anything about that, mate, but yeah, I think you're right there. But then, you are 974, so you're probably...
I'm still going strong, you know. I'm not.
It's all the holidays you're going on. It's no wonder you needed the break from him.
It's to get antibiotics from countries who will give you them. That's why I'm going on.
It saves money. It's probably cheap. To be fair, it's probably cheaper to go abroad than pay for your heating. That week, you know, go abroad for 4 days is probably cheaper than heating the house for 4 days. To be fair.
You're right, trust me. You're certainly right in England at the moment.
Yeah, you can either pay a few grand to heat your house, or you can go on an all expenses paid visa. I mean, what's the difference?
To a warm country, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
No.
Warm weather vacations will be like
He'll be out.
just like warm weather training.
He'll be out to Nepal soon to see you, Seamus.
Yeah, and your big
Sadly, it's
mansion.
not that. Yeah, but sadly, it's not that hot here either. It's
Oh, isn't it? Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's-
you're in the mountains, aren't you? So
I'll go and see
No.
Rob in Australia. I'll go and see
Yeah.
Rob in Australia.
I would. You can always come and stay with me, Billy, and we can.
Yeah.
Uh,
With the prices you're getting charged there, yeah, absolutely, you could.
The food's so fucking cheap. It's just insane. When you're paying the quid for 2 meals, it's ridiculous.
yeah. Billy probably spends more on heating his house than Trish does in a month.
I don't
Yeah, you're probably right.
Heat, I don't use heating. I'm sat here sweating. Seamus, it's freaking boiling. And
No, I'm
even
not
though
saying
we've-
you-
Even though
I'm-
it's in the
no,
middle of a
I said-
cyclone and they're having to, it's cool. They're all complaining. It's cool.
Maybe you're not. Maybe you're misunderstanding me. I'm saying your whole month's expenditure, everything,
Yeah, oh yeah.
would be less than Billy's expenditure on heating for a day.
Probably I did the budget the other week. I don't doubt I should have working out my budget for the month. And when I actually looked at it, I was like, that must be missing stuff because there's no way that could be it. And I was figuring out, well, how much do I need for food? Well, I was thinking, well, I can afford. I was looking at thinking, you could eat out every single day. You could just go and go out to nice restaurants here, and you wouldn't know. I took friends out the other week. We went to a restaurant, Korean restaurant. Bizarre. I don't get it. The Filipinos here, they go to restaurants where you have to cook your own food. Don't ask me what that's about, because I go to a restaurant and some other bugger can cook for me. But they like to go to a restaurant where they cook their own fucking food. Basically, they just get given slabs of bacon and that, in this Korean restaurant, and then you have to cook it yourself. I'm thinking, this can't be right.
No, that's.
But they thought it was really expensive, and at the end of it, I looked at the bill and it came, and I said, no, I'll get this because I'll pay. I looked at it and I thought it's 20 quid for there was like 6 of us, and we ate loads. Fucking loads. I mean loads, mate. I'd just been to the dentist, so I was only able to eat certain things, so I was only eating the soft stuff, but I was sick. I ate so much I was feeling sick, because they do, because they had just so much food. It was less than 20 quid for 6 people, and we all ate like fucking pigs. And that's really expensive restaurant. That's really, really expensive. Even though you have to cook for yourself. I mean, why do you pay to go to a restaurant and cook for yourself? Somebody's got to explain this obsession. And
Someone's taking a piss.
they've got a few like that. Do you do that there, Seamus?
It wasn't a messy restaurant, was it?
Yeah.
The line of messy restaurants.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to pay for the staff wages and everything if you go to his restaurant. Do they do that there, Seamus?
Not yet. I've never known of such thing here, but I do have previous experience with something similar in China.
Yeah, they had them in Dubai, and the only people who ever went to them were the Filipinos, because the Arabs just look and go, well, if I'm fucking paying for something, they're like me. Go, if I'm paying for something, I expect somebody else to, if I'm paying for the meal, I expect somebody else to cook it,
Of course you do.
Yeah, I don't get it, and they love it. And I don't get it. I really just do not understand it at all. It's really bizarre.
Right, boys, I'm going to love you and leave you, I'm afraid. I'm going to meet...
No, that's all right, mate.
What am I having for tea? I'm having a sausage casserole. There you go.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah. So I'm going to
Did you
get
cook
me
it yourself, or did you go to
No.
a restaurant? Proper restaurant.
No, that's what I have a wife for. But
Oh, Billy.
I don't think you can say that now. But,
Yeah, you'll get shut down.
but it's the truth. Okay, boys, thanks very much.
All right,
And
mate.
I shall see you next Thursday.
See you next
Ta-ra,
Thursday, and I
Deeks.
think that's it. We've finished.
Ta-ra,
it
Tris.
now.
Yeah.
See you
See you
next
next
Thursday.
Thursday, Billy, if you don't go on another escapade.
Yeah,
I've
that's
got
true.
4
Probably
weeks,
on
yeah,
friggin'
4 weeks
holiday.
ago.
He'll be on holiday somewhere. He'll find a cheap deal through the Echo or something like me and Grandad used to do, because that's what old retired people
Teletext
do.
holidays. he used to
Yeah, that's what my nan and Grandad used to do.
do. Yeah,
All right,
yeah.
anyway, see you next Thursday.
Thanks a lot,
mate.
boys. I'll see you next Thursday. Ta-ra.
See you next Thursday, Deep, Seamus, whatever.
See you next Thursday.
I'll remember that one day.